Welcome to Sage Audio. Today we're covering how to make a vocal chain. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Understanding vocal chain routing. For this video, I'm going to show you the setup that I use for personal projects, as well as explain why I use each processor so that you can make some informed decisions when you're creating your chain. The first thing to understand is chain routing. In short, each processor is going to lead into the next in a top-down manner. So we'll need to consider how we're feeding our signal into each subsequent processor. After all of our inserts, our signal is then sent to the pan pod, but we probably won't be using panning on our lead vocal. It's then routed to any sends that we've created and the channel fader simultaneously. Although this send can be routed as post-pan, which is the default, and usually what I stick with, pre-fader or post-fader are also options. For the time being, we'll keep the output as the stereo output, but I'll change this later on in the video and explain why. So let's take a listen to the original vocal and the full vocal chain to get a better understanding of where we're headed. Also, for this recording, I used a Stellar X2 microphone run into an Audient ID14 interface with no additional processing.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
Why start with corrective EQ? The first processor can be a difficult one to pick, but a subtractive EQ is a great choice. I also use this first when mastering to attenuate any aspects of the frequency response that I don't want. Since some of my processing is going to be additive, I really want to avoid amplifying unwanted frequencies. With that in mind, I'm going to attenuate the lows with a high pass and then dip some of my fundamental and second ordered harmonic, but only by about 1 dB, just to subtly increase clarity. Now, of course, what you want to attenuate is up to you and it depends on the vocal, but this is a good option. So let's take a listen and keep in mind that its effect is going to be subtle since this is the first processor.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button. It helps us bring you more videos. DS or multiband compress. Next, I want to attenuate my vocal sibilance since I definitely don't want to get this amplified by subsequent processing. A deesser or a multiband compressor can be used for this, but I prefer a deesser since it uses less CPU, even if it does give me a little less control. A split band setting is going to ensure that only the highs get attenuated, not the level of the entire signal. So let's take a listen and notice how the highs become controlled.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
Additive downward and upward compression. Additive compression might seem oxymoronic, but the purpose of compression is to ultimately add detail to our signal. By reducing peaks, we reduce the dynamic range or distance from our highest and lowest levels of signal. We can then push our overall signal, quieter parts and all, higher. As a result, our vocals' quietest details are made easier to hear. For vocals, a quick attack, quick release, soft knee, a little look ahead, and auto makeup gain are gonna work well. I like to follow downward compression with upward compression, which captures, compresses, and amplifies low-level signal, in turn amplifying the details of the vocal even more. So let's take a listen and notice how much detail we can hear now.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
Only a small percentage of people that watch our videos are subscribed, so if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Saturation and analog emulation. The last step on my channel strip is going to be some saturation or analog emulation. These processors definitely do a lot. First, they slightly compress, but more importantly, they add harmonics that fill out the vocal, all while adding program-dependent processing, which adds some needed complexity to the vocal. For example, some saturators are going to compress the lows more than the highs, or distort frequencies differently depending on which frequencies are present, resulting in a more nuanced vocal. So let's take a listen with all of this in mind.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
Setting up my buses. With the processing of my channel strip done, I'm going to set up a send via a bus on which I'm going to add my temporal or my time-based processing, but we're going to cover that next chapter. Additionally, I'm going to change the output of my channel strip to another new bus. I'll change the output of my send that includes my temporal processing to this vocal bus as well. So, to recap, the signal flows through the channel strip, then gets split. One part goes to my temporal processing bus, which then gets sent to the vocal bus. The other part goes directly to my vocal bus. This seems convoluted, but really serves an important purpose that we're going to cover in the next few chapters. Delay and reverb on send. On the temporal send, I'm going to insert a quick delay and then a reverb. The delay is going to thicken the vocal and make it sound more impressive. Then, the reverb is going to do the same, but also give it a stylistic effect that's going to give it some identity. I use temporal processing on a send instead of on my channel strip since it lets me shape just the temporal processing if needed. For example, I could insert a high-pass filter before the delay to ensure that only the highs are delayed and reverberated, or maybe add a compressor after the reverb to really accentuate the details of the processing. So let's take a listen to what this temporal processing adds to the signal, and notice that I'm going to include both the EQ and the compression that I just mentioned to the signal.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
If you're enjoying the channel, join the community with the link in the description. Additive compression on vocal bus. On my vocal bus, which contains both the original signal chain and my temporal process signal, I'm going to add one last compressor and very subtly compress. I like to use optical compression here and only achieve about a dB to 2 just to smooth out the sound and make it cohesive. If you have additional BGVs, you can send them to this vocal bus as well, and the compression is going to help blend the lead and other tracks. So let's take a listen to how this compressor subtly ties everything together.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
Additive EQ on vocal bus. The last processor that I'm going to add to my chain is an additive EQ with which I'll amplify anything about the vocal that I want more of. This EQ also goes on the vocal bus, meaning it's going to affect everything that came before it, the temporal processing included. I'll cut some of the lows with a high pass again since some might have been added by our processing. Then I'll subtly boost some of 4 kHz to add clarity and maybe some 12 kHz to add some air. So let's take a listen to how this EQ subtly shapes the full signal.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
If needed, where does tuning go? When vocal tuning is needed, I find that the best place for it is either as the first insert or after my subtractive EQ. The reasons being, additional processing is going to make it harder for the processor to measure and affect the pitch of the signal. So let's take a listen to the same chain, but with some tuning added at the beginning, and notice how it only makes a subtle difference, which is what we want in most cases.
The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face. The sun goes down for no one. I'm starting to forget your face.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.